We're very excited that you're joining us for these teachings on the arrows of prayer. There are 5 arrows of prayer, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. But first, you might be wondering, why arrows? Like, where did that come from, that illustration? Well, you're about to find out. In 2 Kings, the 13th chapter, there's a story about the Lord's arrow of victory. And it starts like this. Open the window towards the east, Elisha said to the king, and he opened it. Then Elisha said, shoot, and he shot. Then he said, the Lord's arrow of victory, even the arrow of victory over Aram, for you shall defeat the Arameans at Aphek. And then he said, take the arrows, and he took them. And he said to the king of Israel, strike the ground. And he struck it 3 times, but then he stopped. And the man of God, Elisha, became angry with him and said, you should have struck 5 or 6 times. I want to ask you a question, my friends. Has God ever asked you to do something that made no sense at the time? I can certainly say amen to that. Perhaps God has invited you to serve him in a way that seems far beyond your human capacity to do so. And I can certainly say amen to that. Our Father, the creator of the universe, knows no limits, and he invites us as his children to serve him in ways that far exceed our human capacity to do so. Why? I believe one reason is that if he invited us to do what we already knew how to do, perhaps our education or our background, we could easily become proud, thinking we've done this without his help, and then take the glory for our accomplishments. So instead, God invites us to do something that requires our very best, that exceeds our abilities, and then even our expectations. Well, that was what was happening in this story with Elisha the prophet and Joash, the king of Israel. The king was given an opportunity to overcome every enemy, but instead, the Bible simply says he stopped. Erwin McManus, in his book, The Last Arrow, says this about that. Clearly, much more was happening here than meets the eye. This was no small mistake. The king began with the promise of a complete victory, and afterward was the recipient of much less. And it all centers around one decision. He struck the ground 3 times, and then he stopped. Putting it another way, he quit. The Bible doesn't tell us why he quit. Maybe he was tired. Maybe he felt this was ridiculous. Maybe he thought it was beneath him. Or perhaps he sensed it was an act of futility. But it is clear that for Elisha, the fact that the king stopped striking the arrows was connected to his determination to receive the full measure of God's intention for him. He quit, and the victory was lost. So Elisha strongly encouraged the king to do all that God had asked of him. The king fell short, and the result was partial obedience, resulting in partial victory. Why would you want to settle for only a partial victory when God has promised a full victory, immeasurably more than we could ask, think, or imagine to those who trust and obey? And that's what this teaching is all about. So as you continue on with us and you receive teaching from Bridget and Sharifa, our prayer coordinators for Women in the Window International, whether it's on a First Friday prayer call or whether it's on our YouTube channel, our website, or our social media platforms, you'll be learning about the arrows of prayer, praise, penitence, petition, promptings, and then the best of all, the presence of God. Join us.